Anyway, so I tried to find where this thing landed, and I couldn't find it, and I thought, oh gosh, you know, and I was hyperventilating. I saw this thing, and it was pretty close, and it was right in the middle of the day, and I was like, oh, you know, what is this? I want to know what on earth this thing is that I saw. So I couldn't prospect. I got all my gear on, and I made my way back. The story doesn't finish there. Now, I made my way back to the car, which was on the side of this highway. There's a little defunct road that goes up to this hiking area, but it's a pretty defunct area up there. And I noticed there's an SUV sitting there. And just before I got back to my car, as I was making my way down, I had desert camo on. I noticed this car starts to pull out, and then it stops. Two tall, strange individuals got out of the car and made their way up to my one of them got to my car window, who are you? And I watched and they didn't look at her. Of what looks like me when I was younger, and I was really pretty flabbergasted because, man, that looks just like me. So the next morning, I get a message from my father in Australia, who's a skeptic. Hated what I did. He said, if you don't stop doing what you're doing, I'm going to disown you. So anyway, in this email, guess what was attached to that email? There was a photo, and it was the same man that I saw in that dream. So sometimes our relatives who passed on can find ways to get messages through and to even let us know to confirm that what we had happened did actually happen. So I've had a very strange life. I've been out helping people, some very serious situations. Sometimes some of these entities come back after us, can do physical things. And so I worked with a psychic medium when I was in Las Vegas, Nevada for a little bit, helping her. And since I had some personal experiences, I also worked with a team, Vegas Valley Paranormal at the time. And so I saw some crazy things on investigations, but the most crazy stuff I saw was by myself. Like they could put a finger in your arm and make the shape of a finger come out of your arm. And I've had other people with me, and we've seen some really crazy stuff. So welcome to the Twilight Zone. I've been really passionate for answers. After seeing that UFO there in 2013 in southern Nevada, I needed answers. So I went and joined Las Vegas UFO Hunters. I went to, was it Misha Johnson's group, contacted group, to find out more about what was going on. What did this all mean? And I'm sure many of you are quite familiar with what's going on over in the House of Representatives right now in America. There's these hearings on UFOs, and we have military pilots that have given testimonies about these very strange vehicles that skirt around the planes, the battle fleets. So I needed answers. So I went to a place called, later that year for answers. Who's heard of Skinwalker Ranch? So probably most of you heard of Skinwalker Ranch. It's the Area 51 of the paranormal. It's such an active place that even the US military got involved, and they wanted to know, what are these things coming through these portals? There was a rancher family that owned this property, was it 400, at the time it was about 480 acre ranch there in northeastern Utah, where strange things would happen. Some of their cattle would just go missing. The footprints, the hoof prints, the snow would go, and it would just, I don't know, why am I getting blue light all of a sudden? But anyway, I think the video just stopped. So anyway, I went there and I wondered, well, because of my background, we were kicked out of a house because of poltergeist phenomena in the 80s from Browns Bay. All my family, we got forced out of our house. So I've got a deep family with this subject, and I want answers. I want to know really what's going on.
Okay, hang on, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Negan's locked out.
Oh, is he? Oh gosh, could someone get me a thank you?
Yeah, sorry, Mark.
Yeah, no worries. So anyway, I went to the outskirts of Skinwalker Ranch in mid-2013. This is a place of cattle mutilations, all kinds of UFOs. Some of these craft mimic human technology. Like there's been the stealth fighter, one that looks like a mini stealth fighter. Was it the F-117? The mini stealth fighter, all covered in like these lights that look like Christmas lights. There was one that was like a Winnebago, an RV, that the farmer, and I believe it was his nephew, they thought this RV had broken down on their property. So they slowly made their way up towards it, and as they got close to it, they thought someone was trespassing and broken down. This thing slowly started to rise into the air, and this was no Winnebago, it was something else. So this place was like the Area 51 of the paranormal. All kinds of weird stuff happened. The Ute Indians, it was known as the path of the Skinwalker. Skinwalker is supposed to be a shapeshifter, a very evil being. The Ute tribe, believe, a lot of the people there wouldn't go anywhere near this property. They were told, avoid this property, this area. Part of the thoughts is that the Navajo Indians had cursed the Utes because the Utes had done a lot of warring and really hurt the Navajos. So part of the thought was that was the Navajo Indians that had cursed them somehow, that these skinwalkers. So there was stuff like things that looked like Bigfoot. There was these things that would have these like dinosaur footprints in the ground. They would see portals would sometimes open up. Something would come through. Did you have luck? Yeah. Okay. Great. So anyway, I didn't know what was going to happen. I went there for UFOs. So there's got a lot of high security around this property. It's been owned by different people. Robert Bigelow got wind of he's a aerospace entrepreneur. He owns a space station and has contracts with NASA. He got wind of this. I suspect that he wanted this technology for his aerospace projects. So he employed a whole bunch of PhD level scientists to study what was going on using the scientific method to try and find out what was going on, what was behind this mystery. Could it be solved? So they studied the air samples, the soil samples, plants. They did necropsy, veterinary studies on the animals that they found. There was the typical cattle mutilations where the coring of soft parts, soft tissues were removed, things like the eyes, tongues, reproductive organs, things like that, typical cattle mutilations situation. This is stuff that doesn't just happen in America, and it's happened over in the UK, it's happened in Australia, in Scandinavia, all around the world, and really it's just a cultural thing. You know, a lot of these other countries, there's a cultural barrier, there's a language barrier. But when you start to study this, you start seeing patterns. So anyway, I wondered what was going to happen when I got there, and I remember, so who do we have here that was part of the film? So we've got Ivan, and we've got Jim. Jim, over here, welcome. So thanks so much for being part of it. So I didn't know what was going to happen when I went there. So on the first night, I went to this place called, it was nighttime. I had all my night vision cameras all set up, and it was really windy. It shook the car that was parked there, and we'd have these light anomalies would come right up to me and did a 90-degree turn right in front of my face. Well, what are those? And now they weren't affected by the wind whatsoever. So I don't think they were any kind of insect or bird, night bird, anything. They weren't affected by the high winds at all. So that was my first night. The second night, I went up to this place called UFO Hill, which is known by the locals there. And it's this hill that's overlooking the skies above Skinwalker Ridge. Skinwalker Ridge is suspected by some that there might be an alien vehicle. I don't know if any of you have seen the show, the new show with Brandon Frugal, where they use scientists. They've got a team of scientists studying what's going on. But what the scientists find out is that the scientific method never worked on these beings, because these beings are always acutely aware of what they were doing before they did it. And they even, one of these beings even somehow accessed this conduit on this security mast that had cameras and all kinds of devices. It had another camera facing it, and somehow something got through all the cattle, through all the security measures. There was another camera facing this camera, went up there, ripped about 3 feet of conduit, destroyed it, these cameras. So these beings, they didn't like being studied, didn't like being watched, and what they used was biosensors. They would have these dogs and these little dog runs they'd use to try and sense what's going on, because usually the animals like dogs could sense things well before humans could. These things would fly. Some of the things that they talked about was like this little thing that would fly through the air. It looked like glass, about the size of a baseball. It had some kind of bluish, bubbly electrical liquid in it. It would fly around the cattle, scare the cattle. So the farmer, Terry Sherman, sent his dogs. He had 3 farm dogs. He sent them off after these things. Well, they run off, the dogs run off, they're snapping it, trying to get this object. And they go out of sight, and all of a sudden he hears a yelp. And then it's completely silent. So he rushes off out there to see what's going on. All that's left is this tarry mess, which he assumed was the remains of his dogs that got vaporized. So a number of their cattle went missing there. There's the cattle mutilations. Cats went missing. They tried to debunk, things like say, well, was this people, practicing witchcraft? Was this some part of the black ops part of the government trying to study the cattle for prion disease? So there's been a lot of areas that they've tried to look at, but they can't solve the mystery. And then, of course, then there's UFOs that fly around the nuclear missile bases. Robert Hastings wrote a book on these UFOs that would come right up to these ballistic missile bases, and some of them activated and deactivated these nuclear missiles, and there was nothing that the people could do about it. They got into these highly secure systems. This happened not only in the United States, this happened also in Russia and other places. You probably many of you probably heard the Rendlesham event, and I think it was like 1979. But anyway, so how do I play into all of this? Now, I'm someone who's a very haunted man. I have a lot of experience with people who have died, with strange stuff. 2013 was the year of the UFO for me. So Skinwalker Ranch, that night that I went up to UFO Hill there, I sat there with my girlfriend at the time. So I had all the gear up. I was there for UFOs, right? So I have all my cameras, pointed up. I've got all my paranormal gear, and so I'm recording the sky. I'm getting all the satellites. The satellites going in the starry sky. Well, that's easy to explain. Weird stuff happened. Like I heard like this creature sound I couldn't explain, and then there was this sound like an explosion. Now, at first I thought, was it one of my battery packs? So I checked all my video cameras and all that. No. Wasn't that. And so it wasn't until a while later when I came back, I returned to New Zealand after a very long time in America. I needed to find out what the heck was going on. So when I went over this video footage, I realized it was actually a rock that had been thrown right next to us. Now this area where we all sat was pitch black. You couldn't see anything. I even had one of the Ute tribal police officers saw my car parked down there. So he pulled up by my car taking pictures of it. He couldn't see me. Now, You know, in America, the police there are very trigger happy. So I very carefully approached him, and I said, "Hey, hello." He says, "Yeah, who are you? What are you doing here?" And asked me. He said, "Look, I'm just checking on you." He says, "There's some really strange stuff that goes on here." I was stupid. I should have asked him. Well, please tell me, what strange things have you seen? Now, I know the police there have chased things that look like Bigfoot that were jumping across roofs. I've talked to a number of locals there, some of the Ute tribal people, going to one of their sweat lodges, and a bunch of them saw this saucer thing with red and blue lights. It looked like cop cars, and basically had knocked out one of the power transformers about a mile away. So a lot of crazy stuff has happened there. How does this relate to me? Well, it seems like that these beings decided to take an interest in me, as crazy as it sounds, for whatever reason. So these Bigfoot beings, however they're able to get around there without being seen, it's one of the thoughts is that they have an ability to be interdimensional, to phase out of our reality and shift into another reality. Now, the reason why I talk about this is because in one of my areas that I go to, one of my research areas, I was approached by something I couldn't see. I was taking a leak, I was leaving this area, lots of weird stuff happened. Now, so there's some stuff that I haven't talked about in the film. There's a lot of stuff, there's this 10 years of stuff, so I put the highlights of the crazy stuff. So the bipedal footsteps. The craft are interesting. What to me is most amazing are these voices. These voices out in the wild, sometimes they throw rocks. Now there's some here, that some of you here have experienced some of this with me. You've gone out there and you've heard some of these voices. They call out my name, they might throw rocks, they might stone clack, they might rip trees down. These beings took a special interest in me. When I first got back from America, I was doing a paranormal investigation in Auckland City, of all places, and I was using a Sangean. This is one of my ITC devices. This is a Sangean. This is a hacked radio used to commute with other dimensions. Some of you might say, well, how do you know it's other dimensions? Well, I like to ask control questions to sort of help me know, but a lot of times things come through this you can't say in broadcast. It could be swearing, they'll be saying my names, non-PC things. Some of the accents are really weird. So this is one of my devices. I got this message from what's called the Bigfoot people. It came through again and again. I didn't quite understand what was saying at first. This strange voice. So you're going to see, or you're going to hear, what happens and all this other stuff. The UFOs, these very strange beings. Now, some of the scientists over in America have been following what I've been doing, because here they are, they're busting their butts. They're busting their butts and they're taking temperature readings, they're taking radiation readings, they're using lasers looking for portals. One of the people that worked with Robert Bigelow, one of the scientists, Dr. Eric Davis, was momentarily possessed, and basically he said, this entity said to these people, you're not welcome here, you are to leave. These beings did not like the scientists being there. They did not like the cameras being there, they didn't like being studied for whatever reason. So it's not only Skinwalker Ranch, that was taken over by Brandon Frugal, who's got a TV show over in America called The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. It might be on cable. I don't have TV, so But anyway, so they're trying to. It's a very popular show. So there's been a number of books written about this place. It's the most haunted place in America, and not only that, the U.S. government invested money through the late Senator Harry Reid, some $22 million to study what was going on. What are these vehicles? And I suspect the government wanted this technology for the U.S. military. So anyway, so a lot of crazy stuff right now going on in the world, where militaries around the world, governments want to know, what are these vehicles? Pilots have been asked, well, military pilots, when questioned about this technology looks nothing like China, it looks like nothing like Russia. These things, it's using technology beyond what we know, and who knows how far ahead. So anyway, there's something very big going on in our world that we don't realize. There are multiple dimensions. There's these vehicles. Now, are they coming from a dimension? I saw now I talk about some of this in my film along with footage. You're going to see the footage from Mount Moihau that I recorded, and these guys have tagged me. Basically, they allowed me to see some of their craft. I saw a giant sphere by Mount Moihau. Mount Moihau is in the Coromandel Peninsula. It was also a place where Mari talked about. It was a place of what they call the Parapere, or the fairy people, and the Moihau giants. So they used to carry their dead up to some 3,000 foot, 1,000 meter mountain. Now I went there for B-roll. So I go there, I went there for Bigfoot stuff, because now I'm like, I want to find out what's going on. I know this was a legendary place. Now some of the stories that I've got on this film are from that same mountain, from people, with skeptics. It doesn't matter what your belief system is. If you're in those areas, in these wild areas, there's a chance you're going to have an encounter with something you don't know. Something might chase you out. Now I've gotten dozens of reports from people here around New Zealand. A lot of this phenomena is reflective of what goes on in other places. The Yowies in Australia, the Sasquatch over in North America, the Yeren in China, the Almasties over in the Urals in Russia. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of names for these beings. So there's some sort of connection between these craft and these beings. Now I suspect there's something going on. There's some sort of connection. I know this sounds crazy, folks. I know this sounds really weird, but I recorded these intelligences. They know. How do they know my name? Now a lot of skeptics run from me after a while because they can't explain. Some of these voices, some of them don't even sound human. They don't sound like wildlife. They know my name. Some of them have a very high-pitched voice. I was doing a radio show with Jim Birchall here over in East Howick. So at that point in time, when I knew Jim, where stuff was happening, these beings, one of them came into my house. What I'd call benign poltergeist activity was taking place in our house. Things, I think it was some of the juveniles, because they liked the children's toys. They liked moving the little pink balls and that. It wasn't bad stuff. I've been around bad stuff. Something else happened that is not in the film, because I can't prove it. It's what I had happened to me. I was laying down in my bed, just resting in my bed. Something comes into my room, comes right up to me, gives me a date, taps me on my head, and shook the whole bed. I guess they did it to let me know that I wasn't dreaming, and basically told me a day to go back out to this area. So I went out to this area. While I'd gone out there, I went out there for some historical stuff, because I was in the desert for a long time. I was dying to get back into the New Zealand wilderness, which is like rainforest. It's bloody hard to get through. You need a machete to get in there. I've just about killed myself a few times going out there. So I go off the track. I go places where people don't go. So I don't want false positives when I record. I also use, this is a commercially made ITC, instrumental transcommunication device. This is a PSB7. This is my main source. What I do is I use Faraday radio shielding material around this. I get messages with my first and last name. They give very specific information. About 5% of the voices are very negative, like go and do this to you, or whatever. They knew things that no one else knew. So I have been, these voices that I've picked up, I upgraded my mics to this. This is a professional wildlife mic that's designed for recording things you can get 1,000 feet away. It's shielded from EMF and RF radio frequency, electromagnetic frequency. It's designed for picking up wildlife. It's not designed for picking up radio stations or anything like that. I was picking up these very strange voices. They call my name. In this film, you are going to hear some of these beings. We came across footprints. I took Devin with me. Jim knows of Devin. He was on one of Jim's shows. I tried to have Devin come tonight, but he hasn't got a car. And I took him with me to see what we found. These beings were focused on me for whatever reason. So they call my name, they throw rocks, all this weird stuff. So how are we for time?